Hi, I'm Deborah Atkinson, founder of The Voice for Fitness. I have a question for you. Are you over 50 and having problems losing weight? Like you've never had problems losing weight before. It's just suddenly not working like it used to. Or maybe you've never tried to lose weight before, you never really had to, but suddenly you've got extra pounds maybe around your middle, or you've got a little extra skin hanging and you can't figure out how to lose it. It's not budging. Well, I have the answer for you. So whichever case is you, I've got you covered. Here's what's happening and why at the age of 50, not that it's not hard also at 60 or 70, but at 50, right before, right after, most women are going through menopause, perimenopause, and even if you don't have a lot of hot flashes, you're not affected a great deal, or if you are, we've all got the same hormonal issues, because here's what else is going on. Losing weight is not really just about losing weight, is it? It's about how we feel about ourselves and how we feel when we go out into the world and we're at work and we're being professional poly, or we're at home with our kids and our families, or in our relationships. All of that is affected by how we feel about ourselves. And that's the real reason most of us ever want to lose weight and feel better. We don't just mean physically feel better in our bodies. We mean feel better when we look in the mirror and when we're not looking in the mirror, but we're walking down the street. That level of confidence, that's what it's all about. That's why I do what I do. So back to the question, here it is. Because at about 50, we're also sandwiched between potentially older parents, and we've got that as a worry, or we've got young kids, so it's not uncommon right now to be 50 and have a 5-year-old, or we've got kids coming up through high school, maybe going to college, and we're planning financially for what's to come. So finance is there. Most of us, if we are in the working world, are finding we're at the peak of our careers right now, which is wonderful and stressful all at the same time. So with financial gain come responsibilities and come stresses and come deadlines and pressures of those deadlines, and you can miss a lot of things, but you can't miss payroll. And so wherever you are, sandwiched between this and that generation, or with work stresses, we're also probably more tending to volunteer more, be involved in organizations, take leadership roles in organizations. There's a lot on our plate. Let's put it that way. That leads to stress. So with the advent of more stress in our lives at this time than ever before, and the advent of all those hormones that are changing because of menopause or perimenopause or post, with the release of cortisol in our bodies, not to mention the estrogen and progesterone lacking that as a younger woman we had and helped us have an hourglass shape, no longer. So with stress and cortisol compounding the estrogen and progesterone deficiencies we may have, cortisol tends to make us have cravings. When we're stressed out, we don't tend to crave spinach and carrots. Now, you may have the willpower, and a lot of my clients will say this, I'll say this for them. They don't give in to cravings. They're actually very good, very clean eaters, if you will. And they don't give in. They actually do have spinach and carrots, but still tend to have problems losing weight, even if it's not because the cravings cause more starchy foods to be craved or more sugars to be craved and consumed. What happens there is that we have a release of insulin. So when the blood sugar goes up, because of those starches and sugars, we've got more insulin release. When insulin is released and we've got a cortisol plus insulin equation, it's a bad combination for belly fat. So those are the belly fat bullies, if you will. The problem with that is what we try to do is exercise and diet it away. Usually that means bumping up the exercise, decreasing the calories. And those two things also add stress. Your body doesn't know if it's a good stress or a bad stress. Your body doesn't know if your daughter's getting married and you're excited about it, or if there's a funeral you have to go to. Stress is stress. The same is true of exercise that is good for you is also a stressor for your body. So it's already under emotional stress or maybe work stress. Then you add physical stress to it. It's just on overload. So we've got more cortisol causing more cravings, causing more insulin, causing more belly fat. And it's really a vicious circle. So the key question is, should you exercise? Yes. How you should exercise is the question. Because a lot of times what we choose, especially if you like me are a little bit of a control freak, we tend to want to go hard and fast and get it over with. So if you're working really hard, or if you're doing it very often, you've jumped into a frequently called boot camp and you weren't doing anything and suddenly you're doing something 5 or 6 days a week, that's a lot of stress for a body that hasn't been used to it. If you're going for long periods of time, and more importantly, if you're going hard and often and long, those can all be bad. So we've got more cortisol because of the stress, and it's a vicious cycle. We're right back here. So what is the answer? Well, here's a compound question gets a compound answer. So depending on where you store your fat, is it here in that tough, firm belly fat that can't be pinched? Or is it in pinch and inch, either in the arms or the belly? And those two things respond to exercise and to diet differently. So if you've got the firm belly, can't pinch an inch, you actually respond fairly well to exercise. So you do want to exercise. You only need moderately to cut back on your carbohydrates and starches. You can have a little, and if you're exercising, you need to. So you need to fuel your exercise. Don't cut your calories too much. On the flip side, if you've got pinch and inch kind of fat, that's not as respondent to exercise. So you can exercise all you want. You may be healthier, for sure, but you may not see as much response in how the tone in your arms is happening. So you have to have a little stricter diet. And by that, I don't mean a 4-letter word, temporary kind of a thing that you go on and you go off, because most people go on a diet and then stop the diet and hope things work out for them. And generally that doesn't work out really well. So you've got to just find a diet that you can live with forever, that most of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, you're cutting back on your carbohydrate intake. Not a lot of starchy vegetables, and trying to eliminate processed foods as much as you possibly can, and sugars almost completely. That will help the most with that pinch and inch type skin. And if that was helpful, or maybe caused you to have a few more questions, subscribe right here and look down below at the information about Forever Fit and Fab After 50. It's a free webinar I conduct every month. And with that, you'll be on live and you can ask questions and get a 7-point checklist to figure out how am I doing right now on all of the things that contribute to my hormonal issues and to my ability to lose weight and burn fat or not, and what can I do about it. So if that's helpful, I will see you on the other side.